They cut me off at Thanksgiving with applause, so I showed them the folder that ended it all. Natalie stood up like a queen, declared I was voted out, and everyone clapped. So I calmly reached for the folder I'd prepared, the one that made her scream and turned the whole room to ice. Before we get started, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. Hi, I'm Daniel, 36, and I spent half my life thinking family loyalty meant swallowing every insult with a smile and paying for the privilege. But last Thanksgiving, I finally said no. And everything exploded. The folder wasn't just a mic drop. It was a grenade. When Natalie opened it in the middle of Thanksgiving dinner and screamed, the whole table flinched. Joel's chair scraped back. My mother's wine glass tilted dangerously in her hand. But me? I just sat there, calm, watching the show. And honestly, it was a long time coming. They had spent years turning me into their personal emergency fund. Every "can you help just this once?" layered on top of the last like bricks in a tomb. The only difference was, I wasn't the one dying. I was just the one being buried. But no one expected I'd keep records. No one thought I'd be ready. Natalie thought her little public humiliation speech would go unchallenged, that I'd slink away quietly. She stood up, smug and glowing like she was accepting a damn Emmy, declared me voted out of the family, and expected applause. And she got it. They clapped. Cousin Laura, who once cried over her tuition bill and I helped cover it, clapped like I was a Netflix special. My own mother chuckled. Even my dad, beer in hand, muttered, "It's probably for the best." Like I was a defective appliance they finally got rid of. So I said nothing. Not at first. Just reached into my bag, pulled out the folder I'd prepped the night before, and set it down next to the gravy boat. Natalie's smile faltered when it made that satisfying thunk on the table. "What is this?" she asked, eyeing it like it might bite. "Why don't you find out?" I said, leaning back in my chair. The moment she opened it and realized what she was looking at. Every payment, every text, every favor, with receipts and timestamps. Her face drained of color like I'd turned on the lights in a haunted house. And then came the scream. But if you want to know how we got to that moment, if you want to understand why I walked away for good and didn't look back, it didn't start at Thanksgiving. It started long before that, years before. Let me take you back to the beginning. Because this wasn't a sudden betrayal. It was a slow burn. Natalie was born in a halo of family favoritism so thick it should have come with a crown and a PR team. From the second she popped out squalling in her pink hospital cap, it was like the universe had delivered my parents a golden ticket. She was loud, charming, good at feigning sincerity, and knew how to play every adult in the room like a fiddle. I was the opposite. Quiet, observant, thoughtful. But to them, quiet meant weird, private meant secretive, and being independent, that was just ungrateful. I wasn't the fun one. I was the fallback plan. I moved out at 19. Paid my way through college, juggled 2 jobs and night classes. Never asked for help. Meanwhile, Natalie flunked. Out of 2 majors, posted summer soul-searching selfies from Paris and Ibiza, then came home with a suspiciously vague art therapy certificate, and Joel, who always looked like he was practicing his TED Talk voice. When they got married, surprise, I was asked to help out with the wedding. Help out meant write a check. 10 grand. My mom looked me in the eye and said, "Natalie's stressed, sweetie. You know she's not good with money." Then they booked a string quartet and a champagne fountain. My reward? A thank you card addressed to Danielle. I kept helping, quietly, patiently. I told myself it was just what you do. When my dad's teeth needed fixing, $2,500. When my mom called crying because the gas was going to be shut off, $600. When Cousin Laura got waitlisted for a scholarship and suddenly couldn't afford her books, I covered her move-in. They all said thanks, of course. Always with that tone, though. The one that said, "Well, obviously. You're the single one. No kids. No real responsibilities." But it wasn't gratitude. It was expectation. I became the family's invisible scaffolding. Every time they fell, they landed on me. Every time someone else made a mistake, I was the fix. I didn't get invited to game nights or barbecues unless they needed something. No one asked how I was. They asked if I could co-sign. It got worse when Joel lost his job. Natalie called me sobbing. "We just need a little loan, Dan, just until things stabilize." $2,000 later, Joel had a new Xbox and they were stress unwinding in Palm Springs. Then came the business idea, a wellness cafe. I asked for details, a business plan, projected costs. They sent me an Instagram mood board and a list of smoothie names. "You make 6 figures, Natalie had said, like that meant I owed her a gift card to life. I said no for the first time in years, just no. And that's when it started. The silence. Mom stopped texting. Dad became monosyllabic. Laura unfollowed me on Instagram. Natalie posted cryptic stories about cutting out the toxic people and reclaiming peace. I became Voldemort at family gatherings, not mentioned, not invited. So I started pulling receipts. And I mean that literally. I downloaded every Venmo transfer, printed every email asking for money, every "can I borrow" message. Cross-referenced them with bank withdrawals and calendar events. Natalie once asked for help with therapy for Ellie, on the same day she posted a boomerang of herself getting Botox. Over 5 years, the total was over $78,000, not a dime returned, not a single offer. But I wasn't angry. Not yet. I was hollow. Until I saw Natalie's message in a group chat I wasn't even supposed to have access to. "Daniel's a spineless cash cow," she wrote, followed by a string of laughing emojis. Honestly, I bet he'd fund our divorce if I made it sound tragic enough. That's when I stopped feeling guilty. That's when I made the folder. And that's how we got to Thanksgiving, where they stood, one by one, pretending this was some mutual decision. "It's not personal," my dad said, sipping his beer like a philosopher. "It's just time we all moved on." Natalie had the audacity to stand up like a judge, sentence me, and expect me to smile through it. So I smiled, pulled out the folder, watched the color drain from her face. But the contents of that folder weren't even the end. They were just the beginning. The cold air outside hit like a slap, but I didn't shiver. Not from the wind, anyway. The adrenaline was still humming through me like static. My heart wasn't racing, though. Not anymore. It was quiet now, calm, like my body finally realized it didn't have to brace for impact every time my phone buzzed. I didn't go home right away. I got in my car, drove aimlessly for a while, then ended up at the lake near my childhood neighborhood. The same place Dad used to take me fishing when things were, well, not better, but at least simpler. I sat on the hood of my car, staring at the still water, letting the silence fill me. It felt strange, not to be needed. Strange, but good. For years, I believed love looked like sacrifice. That the more I gave, the more they'd see I was worth keeping. That if I could just be useful enough, quiet enough, reliable enough, they'd love me for more than what I could offer. But they didn't. They loved the role I played, the version of me who never said no. So I stopped playing. The next morning, silence. Then the next day, still nothing. It was like they were all too stunned to figure out what came next. And, for once, I didn't care. I went for a run, took my dog to the park, read a book in total quiet. No guilt, no requests, no passive-aggressive texts. The absence of their noise felt like sunlight through clean windows. On the third day, the silence cracked. A missed call from Mom. Then a voicemail. "You really mean it? We were angry, but we're still your family." I didn't respond. A text from Natalie followed. "Joel's filing for divorce. Are you happy? Ellie keeps asking where you are. What am I supposed to tell her?" I read it, then blocked her. Then Dad. "You went too far. We all said things we regret, but what you did was nuclear. Your mother is a wreck. Come fix this." That last line, "come fix this." Even after everything, that's how they saw me. The fixer, the plug, the patch. Not a person, a solution. They never apologized. They never reflected. They just wanted me back where they left me, waiting, wallet in hand. But I didn't reply, not out of spite, out of clarity. For once, I saw it all for what it was, and the peace that followed. It was shocking. I slept through the night. No dreams, no anxiety. Just rest. I stopped checking my phone every hour, started drinking my coffee while it was still hot. I scheduled a dentist appointment I'd postponed for 3 years. Signed up for therapy, not because I was broken, but because I was finally free enough to heal. Then, 1 week after Thanksgiving, Laura texted, "I didn't know you paid for my tuition. I'm sorry. I followed the crowd. You were always the one who actually helped." I didn't reply, but I read it twice. And then came the biggest surprise of all. Joel messaged me. "I filed the papers. Everything in that folder, checked out. She lied. Not just to you, to me too. You did the right thing." That landed harder than I expected. I didn't know I needed someone to say it, but I did. Because even when you know you're right, being alone in that truth can feel like drowning. Joel's message was the first hand I'd seen reach back across the line I'd drawn. And for once, it wasn't asking for anything. It was just telling me I wasn't crazy. I wasn't cruel. I was just done. Christmas came like a slow-moving train I could hear from miles away. Every year they'd guilt me into showing up early to decorate, stay late to clean, and drop off last-minute gifts for relatives I barely knew. Every year I paid for the big presents, because you're doing well, honey, and the kids shouldn't suffer just because the rest of us are strapped. This year, silence. Until December 22nd. A single text from my mother. Just a photo. Their living room, lit with soft yellow lights. Stockings hung over the fireplace, a tree half decorated, and front and center, a large empty space where the gifts usually piled up. The caption underneath, "It doesn't feel the same without you. Ellie keeps asking where her uncle is." No apology, no ownership, just guilt, gift-wrapped in holiday nostalgia. I stared at the photo for a long time. The empty space was so intentional, so perfectly placed. It was bait. An emotional vacuum shaped exactly like me, meant to suck me back in. I didn't respond. December 23rd. Natalie tried calling. I let it ring out. Then the messages started. "Natalie, I know I messed up, but you don't have to punish everyone. Just come by for Ellie. She misses you." Natalie, 2 minutes later. "Also, Mom and Dad are behind on their mortgage. I know you don't care anymore, but the bank called. Thought you'd want to know." There it was, the ask, the hook. She couldn't even wait 3 sentences before sliding it in. Blocked. December 24th. Dad finally chimed in. "Dad, you made your point. We get it. But enough is enough. We need help. We're still your blood." Still your blood. As if biology should be stronger than betrayal. That night I sat by the fire in my apartment, a cheap bottle of red wine in one hand, my dog curled up at my feet. No tree, no noise, just warmth and quiet, and the steady hum of peace. I looked around at my small, clean space. No toys to step on, no fake smiles, no tension waiting to crack open like an overfilled balloon. And for the first time, I was thankful for the silence they'd always said would ruin me. But I should have known it wouldn't end there. January rolled in with a call from an unknown number. I picked up without thinking. "Is this Daniel?" a man asked. "Yes." "Who's calling?" "My name is Mark. I'm reaching out on behalf of your father. He mentioned you were the primary executor of the family trust." My stomach dropped. "I revoked that role 2 months ago. Legally. It was finalized. I'm off everything." A pause. "I see." He wasn't aware of that. He said he couldn't reach you directly and asked me to explore options. They're in a bit of a bind. Of course they were. The ATM was closed. The wallet with legs had walked off. I didn't say anything. Just hung up. 2 weeks passed. Then February brought the final straw. A handwritten envelope. No return address, but I knew my mother's handwriting like the scar on my left hand. Inside, a 3-page letter. Page 1. Regret. We said things in anger. You've always been the strong one. We didn't realize how much we leaned on you. Page 2. Guilt. Your father's health is declining. Natalie's alone. Ellie is confused. It's tearing us apart. Page 3. The hook. We're selling the house, but we're underwater. We just need a little help, just enough to get through this. Please, Daniel, do it for your father, for the family. I let myself feel it. All of it. The pull, the ache, the sadness. Then I folded the letter, walked to the kitchen, dropped it in the trash. Because that letter wasn't about healing. It was about access. After that final letter, the shift was complete. I wasn't mourning the loss of my family anymore. I was mourning the years I'd spent trying to earn their love with money. Mourning how many milestones I'd skipped, friendships, vacations, hobbies, all sacrificed on the altar of being the dependable one. But mostly, I was just light. In the months that followed, I started building something that didn't revolve around other people's messes. I updated every document: will, emergency contacts, power of attorney. I removed their names, changed the locks, changed my number, changed my mindset. I moved. Literally, new city, new job, bigger place, a neighborhood where I didn't have to dodge guilt on my morning walk. My new co-workers didn't know about my family saga, and I didn't tell them. I was just Daniel. Not the reliable brother, not the financially stable fallback plan, just a guy who loved dogs, read too much nonfiction, and made really good chili. I started volunteering on weekends, not because anyone expected it, but because I wanted to. The local shelter needed someone to help walk the older dogs, and the first time I took one out, a pit bull named Toby with a crooked ear and bad hips, I felt something loosen in my chest. Toby didn't want anything from me except company. That alone almost made me cry. Therapy helped too. At first, I thought I'd spend every session unloading family trauma like a suitcase filled with unpaid invoices. But over time, it shifted. We started talking about me, what I wanted, what I enjoyed, who I was without being someone else's safety net. I reconnected with people I hadn't seen in years. Friends who once stopped inviting me out because I always said, I can't, family stuff. Some of them had seen my Reddit post. One even said, I always thought they treated you like crap, but I didn't know it was this bad. They didn't ask for money, didn't pressure me. They just said, we're proud of you. And that stuck with me. Not long after, I got an email from a small publishing blog. They'd read my Reddit story and wanted to know if I'd consider turning it into a longer piece. Not for money, just for others going through something similar. I said yes. Not because I needed validation, but because if one person out there needed to hear, you're allowed to walk away, then it was worth it. And then, like clockwork, another envelope showed up, handwritten, no return address. My mother again, 3 words. We're still family, no context, no apology, just the same manipulative whisper. We still own a piece of you. You still owe us love, but the strangest part? I didn't feel anything. No guilt, no anger, not even a flicker of sadness. I tossed the letter in the recycling bin and made dinner. Because I finally understood. They never saw me as a person, just a role, the giver, the fixer, the reliable background character in their melodrama. But I'd left the stage, and I wasn't coming back for an encore. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like release. 3 months after Thanksgiving, I woke up to a quiet morning. No voicemails from my mother, no guilt-ridden texts, no random emergencies disguised as birthday messages. Just me, sunlight creeping through the blinds, and the soft breath of my dog asleep at the foot of the bed. I stared at the ceiling and realized something simple and stunning. I wasn't waiting for the next crisis. I wasn't bracing for a demand. I wasn't dreading the sound of my phone. I was free. It wasn't just physical distance. It was the full, legal, emotional severing of ties. I'd untangled every knot they ever wrapped around me. Emergency contact forms, updated. Beneficiary documents, Revised. Every shared account. Frozen, scrubbed, closed. They couldn't reach me through loopholes anymore. I left no doors unlocked, no cracks in the windows, and even still, they tried. After the letter, 3 pages of guilt and 0 pages of responsibility, I heard nothing for 6 weeks. Then, in early January, a voicemail from a number I didn't recognize. "Daniel," the man said, "this is Richard. I'm with Wells Financial. Your father said you might be able to assist them with—" Click. Blocked. It never came from them directly anymore. They knew better. But they kept sending messengers. A text from my Aunt Mel. A message from an old family friend on Facebook. "Your parents are really struggling. Just thought you should know." But no one ever said, "We were wrong." No one said, "We're sorry." No one said, "We hurt you and we understand why you left." They just wanted the machine turned back on. That was the final test, not the vote, not the folder, but everything afterward. Because when people are truly sorry, they stop needing access. They sit with the discomfort of what they've done. They own it. They ask nothing. My family, they mourned their lost safety net. Not me. But I didn't mourn them. I built something instead. I moved to a city where no one knew my name or history. I started working in a field I loved, consulting startups, helping them avoid the traps of messy finances. I met people who didn't need me to fund their bad decisions, people who showed up because they liked me, not because I was useful. I started going to therapy weekly. Deep work. No quick fixes. I finally said things I'd never said aloud, like I was afraid of cutting them off because it meant admitting they never really saw me. And I kept helping because I thought it would eventually turn into love. My therapist never judged. She just listened, asked the right questions. Slowly, I unraveled. Slowly, I rebuilt. Ellie still lingered in my thoughts. I kept a box for her. Photos, stories, a few letters I wrote and never sent. I don't know what they're telling her. Probably that I abandoned them. Maybe that I was unstable. But one day, if she ever finds me, she'll get the truth. Not to spite her mother, but so she knows there's a way out. That silence doesn't mean you failed. Sometimes it means you finally stopped drowning. In April, I got one last message. From a number I didn't recognize. "You've changed," it said. I stared at it. Then typed back, "Yes." I started healing. I deleted the thread, took a walk in the warm air, thought about nothing, just the breeze, the birds, the quiet. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like peace.